In today's episode, I'm going to dive into the backstory of my business and how the word elevate has caused me to change things this year. Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Before we dive into today's episode, let's give a shout out to the Up in My Business podcast sponsor, Jane. Jane is a clinic management software and EMR, and I absolutely love Jane. I use Jane in my practice, and I am hoping most of my clients use Jane at this point. And whether you're just starting to do your own research or you've been contemplating switching your software for a while now, the Jane team understands that the process can feel intimidating. I get it because I switched softwares as well, and it was very intimidating. And that's why their goal is to provide you with all of the onboarding resources you need to make the switch as soon as possible and as easy as possible. Jane offers a personalized call to set up your account, a free date import, and a variety of online resources to get you up and running quickly. And if you need help along the way, when you're setting up, when you're first starting to use it, you'll have access to unlimited phone, email, and chat support included in your Jane subscription. So if you're interested in learning more, book a one-on-one demo at jane.app/switch. And if you decide to make the switch, don't forget to use my code LEX1MO at sign up to receive a 1-month grace period on your new Jane account, which works perfectly because you'll be able to set up the account and get things up and running and going smoothly while you're on the free plan. And then once you start paying, hopefully you'll be ready to use the software and get your quote unquote money's worth when you are paying for it. So that code LEX1MO at checkout to receive a 1-month grace period. Welcome back to another episode of Up in My Business. I am recording on Saturday today, and it's sunny out. It's not nighttime. So I had mentioned this in one of the episodes previously. When I record during the day and it's not Sunday night, I definitely have a different, I show up with a different demeanor, if you will. It hasn't been an entire day, and it's not Sunday night, and it's bright outside. It's sunny. So if I sound a little bit different, that might be why. If not, then whatever. I have my Kirkland sparkling water, and it's probably a bad choice because I always have to burp when I drink these. So super, super awesome of me to grab this before I recorded the podcast. But here we are, and we're going to be working with it. So welcome. If you're new here, this intro is probably a little bit more than what you expected, but we always start the episode off with, I'm Lex, by the way. We always start episodes off with personal and business updates, and then we'll roll into the episode. Some life updates and business updates are going to be happening during today's episode, so I won't drown on and on about all that stuff, but I'll give you the quick breakdown of any updates that I have. So update number 1, Shantae did a bunch of research on under the desk treadmills, like the treadmills that you can get to use when you're working. And I had wanted that forever, literally ever. And I just never pulled the trigger because honestly, I have a lot of vestibular shit. So my eyes, it's really my ocular system. I'm not entirely sure. Obviously everything is put together. There's the 3 things fit together, but my eyes have always given me a lot of issues. So I wasn't sure if using a treadmill while I was working on the computer would throw me off and make me dizzy, because honestly, eye movements in general make me dizzy. So if I were to do any sort of pencil push-ups, VOR, saccades, they all make me dizzy. Anybody who's a PT, I used to treat mostly vestibular and concussion. So I am very well aware of what I should be doing. I just don't do it. And this is me in a nutshell when it comes to exercises, like PT specific, fix yourself exercises. I'm just a terrible patient, and I know what I'm supposed to do. So don't come at me with all the exercises I should be doing. I know. And it really messes me up for volleyball, if I'm being honest, because if we're doing a lot of backsetting or if I have to do a lot of spinning, I just become completely useless. So, yeah. Anyway, didn't know if being on the treadmill while I was working would throw my eyes off and then make me nauseous, because no one needs that, and give me a headache. So I am super happy to say that it didn't. So I will put the link to the treadmill in my Amazon store. If you have Shantae's Amazon store handy, you can put it in, you can grab it from hers as well. But she did all the research, and this one's great. It's great for what we need it for. I will say that I am actually super productive on it, and time goes by pretty quick. So I really do enjoy it. I think that it is, I don't want to say that I'm the most, I don't think a ton more when I'm moving, but I will say that ideas come easily to me when I'm moving. So when I have to genuinely focus on something, I can't be walking, but I will say that if I need to have an idea or a brain dump, if you will, walking is really good. So, and in general, it just kind of like makes me happy. And we used to start the day off with walking in the morning with Moose, but when Moose walks in the morning, it becomes a walk. Yes, it's for Moose, and we want it to be for Moose. So we would like to slow down, let her run, let her talk to the dogs. And then it just means that we have to start our morning at, 7 a.m. and we don't want to do that. So we do her walks later on. And starting the day with movement is always great. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully using that, even on some of my coaching calls, just because then I can have more ideas as I'm on the calls, yada, yada. So that's the one big update for the office. Update number 2 for the office. I told you about the furniture situation. I am liking the chair, and I'm liking the carpet, and I'm liking the blanket. I'm still not in love with the carpet though. I'm still considering returning it, honestly. It's just not as, I don't know, it just doesn't look as great as I would like it to look. And I really don't like my bookshelf. So I'm going to try to do something with that situation as well, but stay tuned for that. I still have not decided fully what I want to do, but my Zoom background doesn't look too crazy as far as like being really heavy on one side and light on the other, because I have that planned. So if you're on Zoom with me, let me know what you think. If you're not, then you may see it in the backgrounds of some of my videos. I'm not sure. But there's that. That's another update for you. Another update, I guess. My birthday's coming up. I'm super excited. Not planning anything crazy. I don't think we have anything planned, but it's on a Saturday, so it'll be on the weekend, which is really nice. I haven't had a weekend birthday in forever. It typically advances one day every year unless it's a leap year. So I haven't had a weekend birthday in forever. So it'd be nice to not be working and doing all the things, probably play volleyball, but yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that's worth mentioning here. Not worth mentioning, but just that I have forgotten about. I think that's really it. I do think that's it. As far as personal and business, because we're going to get into the other stuff. I will just say, I feel like it's my job to tell you, March 18th is when waitlist registration will open for SEO School. So if you're not on the waitlist for SEO School, make sure you get on it. There's going to be some really good bonuses this round, and I would love to have you in SEO School. It only opens up twice a year. So if you don't get in now, you can't get in until the fall. And I am taking a max amount of people, and I have found what that number is based on this previous cohort. So please jump into SEO School now if you are looking to get started with SEO. Okay, let's jump into the episode. So the biggest thing here, I went to write out the layout. I typically don't make a layout or an outline for my episode just because I can talk, and yes, I might ramble a little bit more than typical, I guess, but I can pretty much just do these episodes off the top of my head. I'm not over here editing them afterward, yada, yada. But I went to write down the outline of this episode, and I realized that if I didn't give background information on my business, so this episode might be a little bit longer than originally intended, then all of this stuff doesn't really make sense. And it almost feels like I am, I have this like massive switch, if you will, and like this glorified, I don't want to say like greatness as far as like how my schedule's set up and what I'm doing, because it took 2018, 5 years of being like, what the hell is going on type of thing. It's actually almost 6 years. 6 years and a little bit more of that to figure out what I'm doing right now. So I think it would be unfair of me to be like, these are all the ways that I am elevate, quote unquote, which is my word. I am elevating my business this year and give you all of these positive things without any background story. Let's say hindsight, that does not make sense. Without any background on the actual situation. So I'll start with background first, and then we can jump into what I'm changing this year for Elevate, right? So when I first started my business in 2018, and yes, I will keep this short enough. I'm not going to go into all the nitty gritty here. I started my business in 2018. I was still in PT school. I was doing graphic design work on school breaks, on test. When I was studying for a test, I would take breaks while I was studying to do work like this. And when I got into the clinic after I graduated in 2019, I was a travel PT. I would be doing my business on lunch break. I would do it at night. If a patient canceled and I had nothing else to do in the clinic, I would also do my graphic design work. I was doing mostly Zoom moderation, graphic design, website design at that time. So not anywhere near the amount of stuff that I'm doing now. I'm going to take a drink, So that was just the beginning, right? 2020 rolled around. I came back from my travel job because there were no travel jobs across the entire United States, and essentially did a couple things. So my business really elevated during March of 2020 because I said, there's a problem right now. There's no PTs who have the ability to have a professional website that's easy to edit without paying for a custom website. So I created my Squarespace templates, and that was March of 2020. And then I took ready for this? I took a full-time pediatric position. I took a part-time pediatric position. I started adjunct teaching for a college that I still teach for now. And then I started opening up Renegade. So the clinic that I co-owned. So I was, if you counted those, I was doing 5 different jobs. So I had my business, a full-time peds job, a part-time peds job, adjunct professor, and then starting a business. So you can say that my life was busy. I was probably working, anywhere between 90 to 120 hours a week. Like I say that, that is just how I work. Honestly, when it's game time, I have no problem doing it. Was I dead? Absolutely. Was I living an awesome life? No, I wasn't. I had refinanced my student loans from different lenders into one private lender, thinking that I was going to be a travel PT, because that's one of the benefits of travel PT. You make a decent chunk of money, or at least more than what you'd be making as a staff PT. And so my plan was I'm going to pay off my loans, and I'm going to pay them off fast. So when travel PT was not the situation, my private loans did not go on deferment. Is that what it's called? The payments kept going. So I never had a break in payments during COVID. So I had to make my payments. So I said, well, I have to make payments. I have to save money. I couldn't afford at that time a place to live. I was living with my ex's sister-in-law, or we were living there. So yeah, at that point, my life was busy, right? So the reason I'm saying this and telling you this is because it's taken a lot of going through a lot to get to where I'm at this year. And like I said, I didn't want to just be this is where I am this year without having any sort of background. So that continued until about November of 2022. November 2022, I dropped my full-time pediatric position, and I started doing per diem work. So I was just working as they needed me. I had maybe, 4 to 6 patients a week. I did do full-time management and some treating at the clinic that I owned. And then my business was technically my full-time gig. I had enough income through my business to potentially I wasn't making money with the clinic. The clinic was it was a partnership, but I was not taking any income from that to my personal side. So I was just getting income from my business, and then the per diem work, and then adjunct professor. So with all that being said, I kept that going, and I was doing all of that stuff until spring of 2023. So, really it was winter, March of 2023. And so almost a year ago. And then it was just my business and adjunct professor. And I still teach because I like it. It's something that I do like doing, and it's just an A&P lab. So I am still doing that just because it fulfills me. And I don't have to, but I enjoy it. So anyway, throughout all that time, as you can imagine, there have been a lot of life shifts and like what I needed to be doing and what I didn't need to be doing and how much time I spent in my business and understanding what my services were, right? So from 2018 to now, I am offering very different services. So my retainer service started in March of 2022. So that's my retainer service. People have me on retainer for a certain number of hours per month so that if they needed something, I will be there to help them. If they need nothing, then they just pay for those hours. But if they did need something, they have me, which is a huge benefit at this point because I am booking out 3 to 4 weeks, potentially a couple months for certain projects. So I started that in March of 2022, and that still is going. But I will say I started SEO School. Gosh, my first cohort of SEO School, I think it was it must have been fall of 2022. So that was SEO School started, and that was my first time running that. And then I started doing a lot more of SEO done for you services, as well as my do in a day website service, which my first one of those was, I believe, summer of 2022. And now I do 2 to 3 of those per month. So with all of that being said, I will say the reason that I'm able to do what I did this year, which we'll go over, is because I've been through the process of learning what I'm going to offer, how I need to offer it to deliver a certain outcome, and what needs to go into that offer as far as my input, energy, communication-wise, how I can basically deliver the outcome that I need to deliver and I want to deliver. So because I've had that time, I'm able to now tailor things and really just home in on what I actually need to do. And I can offload certain tasks via automation, etc., or just not do them if it's not necessary. So that brings me to 2024. And I'm just going to let you know that as I go through this, my goal is not to say copy my processes because it's not going to make sense. I hate when there's like a blanket statement of, I did this automation, so you should do this automation. The reason why I have done the things that I'm doing is because I have seen gaps in my business that I needed to fill, which goes back to the fact that I couldn't have made the decisions this year that if I didn't go through last year and the year before that and the year before that. So the reason why all of these decisions are made and the particular things, the specific things that I'm choosing to do this year were input into my business and in my life is because I've been through the previous years. And just because I have this certain stuff set up does not mean that it will work for you, but I just want to give you an idea of the things that I changed, because if you decide I ever want to, clean something up or I want this to be automated, like you can understand that there are things that are possible. So I'm going to take a drink and then we'll dive in. All right. So number 1, and these are not in any specific order, by the way. I should have said that. These are not in a specific order. I just listed them out and yeah. So the first thing I've started doing is sending out thank you cards to people who book a do it in a day. So my do it in a day and my SEO signature start packages are my highest ticket. They will cost people the most amount of money. I felt like I needed to send them something, and I truly feel like a thank you card goes a long way. And it means a lot to me that I handwrite it. So there are card sending services out there. Postable is one of them. You can use Punk Post, which is a really, really amazing card sending company as well. I wanted to make sure that I was writing them. So I bought a black permanent marker. I got branded cards from Vistaprint with my logo on them. And then on the front, it says thank you. And then on the inside, it's blank. I got envelopes, and then I got stickers to put on the envelope to actually close the envelope. And then I have, in addition to the black permanent marker, I have a bunch of colored markers that aren't don't bleed. So they're able to go over the black marker, and the black marker is still easily read. I would call them a highlighter, but then you're going to think about a highlighter, and it's not a highlighter. It's just like a translucent marker. So I bought those things, and I write a handwritten thank you card to anyone who books a package with me like that. So my Do It in a Day or my SEO Signature Start, I will always write a handwritten note, send it via snail mail, and I have really loved to hear that people are receiving them. It's just the best. So that's one of the first things that I did this year, and I wanted to make sure I started doing. Number 2, in relation to my Do It in a Days and my SEO Signature Starts, I have made it so that I know exactly when I'm offering them. And I know this sounds like, duh, of course you know when you're offering them. Honestly, no, I didn't, because last year my life was so hectic as far as like, I didn't really have a set schedule because I moved 4 times. I moved across the country for one of them. So my set schedule was just not there. And I essentially fit in my Do It in a Day service when I had the time and the opening. This year, I decided I was going to make Mondays and Wednesdays for my retainer clients only. So I do work on Mondays and Wednesdays, my retainer client and my SEO retainer. That's when I do work for them. I'm sorry, I said Tuesday and Thursday. This is Monday and Wednesday. Maybe I did say Monday, Wednesday, either way. Monday, Wednesday, I do retainer work. Tuesday and Thursday, I do calls. So that is the only time I'm client facing at all. I will get on Zoom with people. I will do client calls as far as retainer clients, SEO retainer clients, coaching calls, discovery calls, what have you. But Tuesday and Thursday are my only client facing days. Fridays are my flex day. So Fridays, I can decide to work. I can decide to hang on the couch, whatever I want, essentially, is what I decided I wanted to do. Now, though I have certain days, so it's the first Tuesday, the second Wednesday, and the third Thursday. Those are the days that I have for my Do It in a Days. And there are some fluctuations as far as exactly what days I'm doing them, just because some months I go on vacation and what have you, but I did try to make the first Tuesday, the second Wednesday, and the third Thursday of the month. Those are the 3 days that I have open for Do It in a Days. So I already know exactly what days I have open all the way through July. Whereas last year, I was spending each month doing my schedule and not knowing when I would have a Do It in a Day open until basically the third week of the month. And I was booking out pretty far. So that led to essentially having to either reschedule things or fit things in, and that just feels hectic. So I have a very set schedule at this point and know exactly when I'm doing certain services. And I cannot over exaggerate here when I say that has been a total game changer for me. Just total game changer. So there's that. My third thing, I am officially limiting access to me. So what I mean by that is Voxer, I'm going to do it on Voxer. So Voxer is the way that people communicate with me when they're in a specific container with me or they're a retainer client. So the only people who have access to me on Voxer are my retainer clients, which are just my general retainer and my SEO retainer, as well as my Lextramind people. So if you're not in a container with me, you don't have access to Voxer and talking on Voxer with me. I feel like that is on the same level as a text message, right? Like I want those people to have direct access to me, and they are actively working with me. I will say that last year, if people did a service with me or they were part of a service at one point, they would just randomly start boxing me and I would answer them on Voxer, which obviously that's my problem. I am answering you. Of course, you're going to think it's okay. It's no one's fault. But this year I decided like a hard stop. If you're not in a container with me, you're not going to get access to me via Voxer. And that's been a complete game changer as well, because the thing is, those people who are in those containers, I also give Voxer access to people who are doing a Do It in a Day with me. I forgot to say that. Those people are paying for that access. And I don't think it's fair to give people access to me via Voxer if you're not in a container, because why are the other people paying for it if that's the case? Right? Like that doesn't make sense. So I limited access. And honestly, it is energetically taxing. So when I'm on Voxer, I'm working. And that's why I answer Voxer during work hours mostly. I will also answer at night or on the weekends, but every once in a while. But it's one of those things where when I have a limited number of spots for my retainer and for Lecturemind, I know about how much time I will be spending on Voxer. And that matters. It all goes into energy management. So I am limiting access to me overall as far as official active clients, if you will. And anybody else I'm directing to email which I'll get to in a second. I can do it right now actually, but my email, I am essentially just letting that be. So I am, because of all of the things that I'm doing and setting up, I have had more time to get back to email, but I'm taking off the pressure of needing to respond within 2 days for email correspondence. And for me, that was a big trigger last year. It's people were assuming that email meant text, and even text, it's still not an immediate response. So I'm letting go of the expectation and just teaching that I will likely not email you back the same day. And that's been much more energetically manageable for me, whether it's just thinking, I have 16,000 emails to get back to. And at this point, I'm getting back to people within a day or two just because the expectation around it has been changed. So it's just been really powerful in that respect as well. All right, we're on number 4. I'm increasing the number of emails that I'm sending to my newsletter family. So anybody who's on my general newsletter, that I typically only email monthly recaps. I think I've sent out an extra 3 emails so far this year. I do usually beef up how many emails I send out prior to a launch. It just makes sense. But I'm also just emailing about general stuff. And, when there's an outage on Squarespace, here you go. That's why I like to have people on my email list anyway. So I wanted to make sure I'm sending out information like that. So I have increased the number of emails to my newsletter. And I should be saying why does this feel like it's all elevating to me? But that's elevating the client experience. You're joining my newsletter and you're getting something out of it. I always want someone to be getting something out of it. Number 5, I set my dates for my launches early this year. So because life was so hectic last year, I didn't necessarily have my launch dates set in stone before, and yes, they can move, of course, but I didn't have them set with an expectation around them until later in the year. And that can get difficult to manage because then you're fitting in an entire launch and also needing to prep for said launch and yada, yada, yada. So I made sure my dates were set early in the year. Number 6. So number 6 and 7, I shit on Zapier hardcore. So Zapier, if you don't know what Zapier is, it's basically an integration software that connects one thing to another. I shit on it because honestly, it can get to be very expensive. But, the gap that I found in my business was that when I had an inquiry and I had a discovery call, I don't like to be the person who probes people. But in that respect, it's also problematic because I wasn't actively keeping track of leads. And did people actually buy? Did they not buy? Did I refer out? So what I'm doing, I set up a Zap, if you will, where when anybody books a discovery call, they go into a spreadsheet and it has the date of their call, their email, their name, what they're looking for. And then I have it filled out where I can toggle whether they bought, what their service is that I'm going to be booking them for, what they looked for, any notes about them as a potential client, and then the investment that they'll be making. So now I can use that spreadsheet to calculate how much money each person is spending. Did they book or did they not book? And then I can use that spreadsheet to contact them if you did not book. Because I will be honest, life is so busy and the time goes by so fast. So while I will also tell you on the call, I'm not here to get you to spend your money. If I'm here if you need me. I also recognize that some people just need a little bit of a poking because they're like, I want to work with you. I just need you to ask me again because I forgot. So I wanted to make sure I provided myself with the opportunity to reach back out to people, because if they are just, out of sight, out of mind, if they didn't book anything with me, they're probably not actively thinking about it. So I now have a spreadsheet with everyone's information in it, which I have found to be extremely helpful, and it cuts down on a ton of time for me and it adds a ton of value for me because I can also just go back and be like, what was that person's discovery call about? And what did they call about? And who did I refer them to if I didn't want to work with them or if I couldn't work with them? That's why. So I did that. I also am using Zapier to send out an email 1 week prior to any of my do it in a day or SEO signature start days. So if you schedule that service with me, you'll get an email a week prior. And in that email, it just says your day is coming up. Any files that I need prior to that day are due in a week. So here's a reminder. And it's just been really nice because it increases the level of communication. It maximizes, obviously checking in with people, making sure they're doing the things that need to be done. And then it also tells them you have access to Voxer with me starting today. So go ahead and voice message me if you have questions. So that also gives them that Voxer access. Number 8, I already said this, but I am planning to email people who don't book a service with me. Not because I want to be like, hey, did you decide yet? But just to say, hey, it was nice to meet you. I know life gets busy, but if you were still looking to book, we can chat more and go from there. But that is another email that I'm doing that I can actually do now because I know who booked a call. I know who is actually booking services. I know who decided that they wanted a little bit of time to think on things. And I also have notes about their call. So I know exactly what we talked about, right? I want to make sure people know that I have all the details and you don't need to re-explain something to me. It's the value of staying small. And lastly, I added my service brochure to be downloaded. So I did it in 2 places. If someone books a call with me, in their confirmation email, they can download my service brochure. They have to put their first name and last name and email address. It connects to my booking software, which is HoneyBook. I can't do it in any other way. And it's the same thing if you go to my Instagram link in bio or on my contact page, you can download my service brochure right there. I have to get your first name, last name, and email because that's how HoneyBook works. And I say it right in the form. I say, this is not some scam. Like, my prices are right on my website. You don't have to put your first name and email in here. But if you do, all of my pricing will be in one place. If you don't want to be added to my newsletter list, and if you don't want my pricing booklet, then just go to my website. All my prices are there. So it's not like I'm hiding my prices behind a first name, last name, and email. And I do say that right in the intake form, or right in the form that you have to submit in order to get the service brochure. Because that's a value of mine, right? I'm not trying to hide my prices from people. I want you to know what the services cost before you even book a discovery call. So it's very easily accessible to do that now. And that has saved me a ton of time because I used to lose a ton of time when I would have to send the service brochure to people on a discovery call. And also if someone contacted me, I would have to then get their email, get their first name, get their last name, send them the service brochure. Now I'm like, just go to my link in bio. My service brochure is there. Go download it. And it's just been so helpful. So with all of that being said, these are the things that I've noticed that I have more ability for, or what has changed since I've done all this stuff. And my word is elevate. So elevating the experience in business, elevating my customers' experience, and also in my personal life, just being able to elevate things as far as noticing small details and being able to take part in small details. So with all that being said, all of this stuff being said, we can already assume all of this has allowed for more ease and consistency for me. Ease and consistency are 2 things that I need. So I have realized throughout my life, consistency is something that I absolutely positively need. I thrive on it. And when things are inconsistent and when my life feels like it's inconsistent and I don't have a schedule, I really do go off the deep end. And not the deep end being like I'm going crazy. It's just like I genuinely feel like I'm not where I need to be. My body does not feel good. So I know that having the consistency there is literally, it could not be better. So ease and consistency overall. It has also allowed for me to have more planning periods and more creative periods because I have a set schedule now. I know that I'm going to be doing X amount of work on Monday, Wednesday. I know that I'm going to be on calls Tuesday, Thursday. Friday's a flex day, so I can do whatever I want with that day. And I can book an extra client. I can do just creative work, but it's allowed for me to have more planning periods. And I am a person, it's one of my Clifton strengths. I can't remember which one it is, but I thrive off completing tasks. So for me, I start at 0 every day. And when I complete a task, that makes me feel good. And I don't, like I said, it sounds kind of like ridiculous to say out loud, but it is one of those things that I do feel very strongly about. So it's been helpful to know I have X amount of work on this day. I check the box. I am successful today. When I don't have a consistent schedule and when I feel like I'm just fitting things in, it never felt like I was achieving what I needed to achieve that day. So I've really gotten to the place now where I'm able to say, I have these 2 things on my calendar, check mark, I'm moving out of the day. Then at night, I can lift, I can cook, I can do whatever I want. And I've really, really enjoyed that. So with that being said, it's allowed for more time for life, whether that's, not worrying about how long we spend at volleyball, not worrying about how long breakfast takes to cook, being able to cook dinner multiple nights a week and, plan out recipes. All of this stuff has allowed me to have more time for life and partake in the small details of life, which has really, really been just so rewarding. I've also had less back and forth on email, which is my least favorite thing to do. I feel like it's a lot of lost time going back and forth, and it's a lot of typing. And that's why Voxer is so valuable to me. And that's why I keep Voxer access in the containers that I have, because I find it to be super valuable to talk to people. So my least favorite thing is going back and forth via email. I found that I've had to do way less of it. Just because I have the service brochure linked there in my bio and on my website. People can book a discovery call and then get access to the service brochure right away. I just find that it has made it so easy. So that is just the general ease, if you will, but it also has led me to have less back and forth on email. It's been super easy for me to post every day on Instagram, or at least almost every day. It goes back to being able to send more emails to my people because I'm just having more planning periods and more creative time and more time to just, I don't want to say be bored, but just know that I completed my tasks so I can think about other stuff. And that allows more room for creativity for me. So being able to post every day, have ideas all the time, just because I have the time to actually sit and develop those. And it's been super rewarding in that way. And lastly, I've had more communication with clients, whether it's current clients, potential clients, past clients. I've just found like overall the communication has just been, so much better because there's more of it. It's led to less confusion. It's led to people being, I think, happier overall because I am communicating a lot more and not just sending, 1 or 2 emails. I'm sending multiple. And I just feel like it's been really, really good for just building the relationship between current clients and potential clients. Okay. That's a lot. My voice is really tired. I'm going to take a drink. Yeah, that was a lot. I kind of knew this one to be long. I haven't recorded a 40-minute episode in Lord knows how long. So with all that being said, I want to just say that it's very difficult for me, like I said, and that's why I did it. It's very difficult for me to share all this stuff without saying, like, it took a lot of fuck ups before I got to a place where I could implement this stuff as well as felt comfortable implementing this stuff. It did not happen overnight. It happened over the course of years, and it just took mistakes. It took a lot of mistakes. It took a lot of overscheduling. It took a little bit of, I don't want to say burnout because I've never really been truly burnt out, just being tired and feeling like all I have time for is work. It just took a lot of things to go not as well in order to say, okay, what needs to change? And it took time, if you will, for me to offer the things and decide, okay, I need to do this differently. I need to do this differently. And to make these things better, I need to do this thing. So it just took time. And I would say for anyone who's building a business, in a business, thinking about starting a business, the biggest thing that I would say that I wish I did throughout the process is just writing down how I was feeling. I'm not a big journaler, I'm really not, but understanding how I was feeling in certain situations and having a record of that would have been really helpful when changing these things. And, I use my Apple Notes now at this point where I'm like, I have an idea. I put it in my Apple Notes. Learned that from Shantae. But I feel like if I had done that in the early stages, I would have seen a theme faster and a pattern faster than waiting, years. But I truly feel like without those years of having things be less than optimal, it would be really difficult to be in a place right now where things feel super optimal and super easy. I say easy, it's just my sort of ease and super consistent. So that's really all I've got for you today. It's a long one. If you listened all the way to the end, I really appreciate it. Let me know what you think. And I will say, like I said earlier, don't feel like you have to implement all the things that I have implemented here. But if you feel like something might be a good fit for your business as well, like go for it. Do it. Implement it. See how it feels. And understand like we also hold the authority to change things at any point in time and that we can do that. So if at any point in time I don't like the way that this service is run, I'll change it and we'll go from there. All right, friends. That's all I have for you officially. I thank you so much for listening and haven't really decided what I'm going to be talking about next week yet, but we are going to be jumping heavy into SEO. So I might be doing an SEO series again like I did last time. So stay tuned for that. If not, then stay tuned for whatever else I decide to talk about. Thank you so much for listening today. I will catch you next time.